Hello, beloved soul. I'm Luna Celestine, and today I invite you to pause. Not for the sake of stargazing or celestial wonder, but for something deeper, something ancient. Something that, if you listen closely, is already moving through the quiet parts of your body and spirit. We're standing at the edge of a rare cosmic moment, a partial lunar eclipse that does more than dim the sky. It disrupts the unseen. This is not just a play of shadows and light between the moon and the earth. It is, in a way few understand, a spiritual shift, a thinning of the veil, and at the heart of it lies the Pleiades, the seven sisters. They've been watching over humanity since time began. You've felt their presence even if you never had the words for it, that inexplicable feeling of being seen when no one was in the room. That moment of sudden clarity when you couldn't explain why, but you just knew. That's them. They are the keepers of memory, of intuitive knowing, of subtle direction that leads without pushing. But during this eclipse, something different happens. The moon doesn't just move across the sky, it moves across the watchers. It covers them, not completely, but just enough. And that sliver of shadow is more than astronomical. It's symbolic. When the light of the seven sisters is dimmed, so is their gaze, and for the first time in a long while, you are left standing without them looking on. You are no longer being quietly guided, not because they've abandoned you, but because this is a sacred interruption, a pause in the pattern, an intentional moment of stillness, where their presence pulls back, not to punish, but to make space for something else to rise in you. This is where it begins to feel different. You may already feel it now. A quiet disorientation, like you're searching for something you can't name, like the map you were following has faded. That sensation is not failure. It's the silence of ancient guidance stepping back, asking you to listen inward. And this is what makes this eclipse different from any other. The disturbance isn't happening in the sky alone. It's happening in your inner compass. It's not about watching anymore. It's about what you do when no one is watching for you. It's about what awakens in you when the stars go quiet. And this is only the beginning. There's more to feel, more to face, and more to uncover in the hours and days ahead. Stay with me, because what comes next may not be comfortable, but it will be honest. And honesty is where healing always begins. And now, as the light of the seven sisters dims and their gaze softens into silence, something within you begins to shift. It might not be loud, it likely won't announce itself with thunder or vision, but it will be real. And for many, it will feel like being lost in familiar territory, wandering through the spaces of your own life and suddenly not recognizing where you are. You may wake up with a heaviness that has no name. You may feel like your connections are thinning, like the things that once anchored you no longer hold their shape, and yet nothing is actually broken. This is what we call the stillness between signals, the in-between space where the guidance once so constant has gone momentarily quiet. Not absent, just paused. This energetic pause is not empty, though it may feel that way. It's a filtering, a spiritual frequency check. Some of you, those whose systems are attuned to inner shifts, will notice that your intuition isn't speaking in its usual language. It might go silent. You'll reach for the inner voice, and it won't answer. You'll ask your gut, and it won't respond. This absence of clarity can feel like something is wrong, but I promise you, it's not. Your system is simply recalibrating, re-narrating the way insight comes through. And for others, perhaps even you, this same eclipse will open the gates. Information will pour in. Sudden understandings will click into place. You'll feel like you're seeing people more clearly than ever before, like you can sense truths they haven't spoken and feel future outcomes before they unfold. This is not imagination. This is resonance. This eclipse divides not to separate but to reveal. It's not punishment, it's precision. The moon unveiling the Pleiades, is acting as a spiritual filter. She is selecting not who is worthy, but who is ready to feel more deeply. And that readiness does not make you better, it makes you responsible. Because when your senses are heightened, the noise gets louder too. You'll begin to notice who drains you, not because they've changed, but because you have. You'll start to feel an urge to pull away from people you used to tolerate without conflict or reason. Their words might still be kind, their presence might still be familiar, but your spirit will begin to whisper, "Not anymore." And you must listen. At the same time, you may find yourself drawn to others unexpectedly. People you once dismissed or avoided might now feel different, softer, clearer, somehow lighter. That's not coincidence. That's the energy adjusting. Some are shedding layers, others are clinging harder to their emotional weight. And you, in this eclipse window, are being asked to notice who aligns with your healing and who disrupts it. You're not judging, you're discerning. And that discernment is sacred. It's the first step toward living from spiritual truth rather than emotional habit. So if it feels like things are falling apart, it's only because the energy that once masked the truth is being peeled away. Let it go. Let it sort. What remains will be what was meant to walk with you through the next chapter. And that, dear one, is more than enough. And as the energy continues to filter, to sort, to subtly rearrange the emotional furniture of your life, you may start to notice a pattern that follows you, not in a haunting way, but in a quiet, persistent rhythm. The number 7. It might show up on digital clocks when you're not looking for it. It might appear on receipts, timestamps, license plates, even in the number of unread messages waiting in your inbox. At first, you might brush it off. Another angel number, perhaps, just one more nod from the universe. But pause for a moment and go deeper. Because during this eclipse, 7 is not just a number. It's a code, a signal that the unseen layers of your life are in motion. 7 days in a week, 7 chakras, 7 stages of grief, 7 tones in a musical scale. Across cultures, systems, lifetimes, it reappears. And it reappears for one reason: completion, but not the kind of completion you've been taught to expect. This is not the final scene of a story where everyone claps and the curtain falls. It's not a graduation or a grand announcement. It's the kind of ending that feels like an exhale you didn't realize you were holding. It slips in quietly, like the last note of a song that fades rather than finishes. This is the spiritual signature of 7, a quiet closing, a chapter that seals without ceremony, and you may be feeling this right now, in strange, unspoken ways. Friendships that end, not in fire, but in distance. Habits that once comforted you now leave a strange aftertaste. Emotions that used to consume you begin to lose their power, not because you've conquered them, but because they've simply expired. This is what 7 does. It folds time inward. It reminds you that something is over without needing your permission, that some parts of you have already outgrown the rooms they were living in, and rather than asking you to make a dramatic exit, it simply closes the door behind you. That's why it feels so subtle, so eerie, even disorienting. You didn't plan for it, you didn't even ask for it, but here it is, a spiritual release that doesn't ask for applause, just awareness. So when you see the number 7, don't chase it like a sign to decode. Let it be a mirror. Let it reflect what has quietly finished in your spirit, because this is what the eclipse is doing. Through the veil of the Pleiades, through the silence of the watchers, it's moving you through your endings, not to leave you empty, but to prepare you for the breath that comes next. The one that belongs to a new version of you, one that no longer needs to be seen in order to move forward, one that walks, not toward applause, but toward alignment. And that, beloved, is where the real journey begins. And now, as the old pages begin to seal behind you, softly, soundlessly, you may begin to notice strange sensations stirring beneath the surface of your ordinary moments. They arrive without warning, without context, like spiritual echoes crossing into the present. You could be in the middle of a conversation, eyes-focused, words flowing, and then suddenly, blank. Not confusion, not distraction, just emptiness. A silent, inexplicable pause where your consciousness seems to step out for a moment, like your soul has momentarily exited the room to tend to something beyond language. It's subtle, but unmistakable. A flicker, a reset, and when you return, everything looks the same, but something feels slightly rearranged inside you, like your energy stepped aside to meet with something greater than your understanding, and now you're back, a little quieter, a little more aware. These moments are not accidents. They are spiritual recalibrations, temporary pauses that allow your inner system to realign itself in the absence of external interference. As the shadow of the eclipse moves across the sky and the light of the Seven Sisters continues to dim, your subtle body begins to speak in ways that words cannot hold. And one of the first places this shows up is in the eyes. Eye contact, once casual or even comforting, may now feel too raw, too intense, like being seen too deeply or seeing someone else too clearly. A glance becomes a window, but the view is overwhelming. You may find yourself breaking eye contact quickly, not from fear, but from the energetic weight it carries. Or you may look into someone's eyes and feel something leak through. Grief, resentment, longing, confusion, all things left unspoken, now pushed to the surface by the spiritual pressure of the eclipse. This is what happens when the spiritual veil is disturbed. The energy that usually flows quietly between us becomes distorted, like static on a clear signal. You may enter a room and feel drained before a word is exchanged. You might pass by someone and instantly feel like your chest tightens or your thoughts cloud. That is not your imagination. That is vibrational residue, what I call spiritual density. It's the emotional and energetic weight people carry that words often conceal. And right now, with the Pleiades dimmed and the lunar shadow filtering our frequencies, your body is becoming more sensitive than usual. Not your logic, not your empathy, your energy. And it's reading people for you, instantly, unfilteredly. Sometimes uncomfortably so. You'll feel it before you understand it. Some people will suddenly feel overwhelming, like their presence fills the room before they speak and lingers long after they leave. Others, whom you once found disruptive or difficult, may now feel strangely grounding, like standing beside something ancient and calm. This reversal can be disorienting, but it's not a mistake. It's your energy responding to shifts in theirs. It's your intuition catching changes before your mind can label them. You may not have the words yet, but your soul does. So don't be alarmed if simple conversations leave you exhausted, if crowds feel intolerable, if someone's glance lingers just a little too long. Don't question yourself if you find comfort in unexpected people or discomfort in those you once felt safe around. The eclipse has temporarily pulled the spiritual curtain back, and everyone is exposed in a deeper light. And you, dear one, are not meant to interpret it all just yet. You are only meant to notice, to witness the way your spirit whispers before your thoughts catch up, to trust that these strange symptoms are not problems, but signals. You're not breaking down, you're tuning in. Let the discomfort come. Let the signals pass through. Your system is wise. It's showing you what no one else is saying, and soon those messages will begin to make sense. But for now, just listen, and eventually, after the strange silences and the soul-level discomforts have washed through your day like invisible waves, you'll begin to notice something even more unsettling. Not a revelation, not a breakthrough, but the absence of one. The most challenging part of this eclipse is not what it shows you, it's what it withholds. This is not the kind of lunar event that opens your third eye and fills your journal with cosmic clarity. This is the kind that turns your head slowly toward the things you've been avoiding. It doesn't shout, "Here is the answer." Instead, it asks quietly, insistently, "What are you pretending not to see?" And it won't leave until you sit with the discomfort of that question. You might find yourself revisiting a name you haven't spoken in years, a moment you buried under logic, a version of yourself you've been trying to outgrow without really confronting. And there it is, suddenly, vividly, pulsing just beneath the surface. That unresolved conversation, that sharp choice made in haste, that missed opportunity that never quite stopped echoing. It returns, not to punish you, but to ask, why is this still open? Because eclipses like this one, especially with the veiled gaze of the Pleiades, aren't here to give closure. They are here to remind you that something still needs it. This kind of spiritual moment is frustrating because we are conditioned to chase clarity, to fix what feels off, to tie everything into neat endings. But here's the truth. Not everything is meant to be resolved on your timeline. Some echoes need to linger. Some lessons need to haunt, not to harm you, but to hold your attention. Because when the soul resists completion, it's often because the work is not yet done. You may want the chapter to close, but if you're honest, part of you hasn't even read the last page. You skimmed it, you skipped it, or maybe you were afraid to know how it truly ends. So now, in this eclipse shadow, there is no answer, only a mirror that refuses to reflect what's easy, and instead shows you what you'd rather not face. And I know, it's exhausting. The questions feel heavier when no clarity follows, but this is how the soul matures, not through knowing, but through the courage to keep asking. Let yourself feel the ache of the unfinished. Let yourself stand still in the middle of the unknown. Don't rush it, don't spiritualize it away. Just be with it. Because what this eclipse brings is not an ending. It's a pause. A sacred interruption in your own forgetting. You're not meant to fix it all today. You're meant to finally admit that something remains unresolved, and that pretending otherwise has only slowed your healing. And perhaps the most powerful shift of all begins here, not when the story ends, but when you stop pretending you don't need to know how it truly began. The eclipse will pass, the stars will shine again, but you'll walk forward, carrying a new question, and sometimes that's more transformative than any answer. What is eclipse today is not merely the light in the sky, but something far more intimate. The quiet knowing that you are being seen, held, and understood by something beyond yourself. For so long, you've moved through life with the unspoken comfort that somewhere, even if you couldn't name it, there was a presence witnessing your path. The stars, the signs, the subtle nudges, they've always whispered, "We see you." But today, that gaze turns away. The watchers, the Pleiades, those ancient guardians of intuitive truth, dim their light not to disappear, but to step back. And in their retreat, you are no longer accompanied by the reassurance of being observed. You are left alone, not in abandonment, but in sacred solitude. This absence isn't meant to punish or provoke fear. It's meant to shift the gaze, to place the mirror not above you, but directly in front of you. When no one is watching, when no light reflects your form, you begin to see yourself as you truly are, unfiltered, unedited, unguarded. There is no external confirmation, no cosmic applause, no signal that you are on the right path. There is only your reflection staring back through the stillness, asking a question only you can answer. Will you choose to see yourself without needing to be seen? Will you hold yourself with reverence when the universe turns away, not in rejection, but in quiet trust that you are ready to look within? This is what makes today so heavy and yet so holy. It's not the absence of light that unsettles you, it's the absence of witnessing, And in that space where divine eyes close for just a moment, you are given the rare chance to open your own more fully than ever before. Not to look outward for direction, but to turn inward, toward the place where the real seeing begins. And so, as the shadow of the eclipse slowly recedes and the light of the Seven Sisters prepares to return, remember this: the power of this moment was never in what it revealed, but in what it asked of you while everything was quiet. It asked you to pause, to notice, to feel, to face what you've been avoiding in the soft places of your heart. Not with urgency, but with honesty. You were not meant to come out of this with all the answers. You were meant to leave carrying better questions, the kind that linger in your chest long after the sky has cleared, the kind that pull you closer to the version of yourself that doesn't wait for signs, but listens for stillness. And maybe, just maybe, you'll begin to trust that the emptiness you felt was not a void, but a clearing, not a loss, but a sacred reset. So take a breath. Let this moment be enough. Let the confusion, the pause, the discomfort, all of it, be what it needs to be. Because healing isn't always a light turning on. Sometimes it's what you finally feel in the dark. Until next time, take care of your spirit. And when the Watchers return, may they find you more whole than you were before they turned away.